Recently, many people have been visiting the association to prove they have awakened special abilities. More gates have been opening, and more magical creatures have been appearing. At the same time, the number of hunters who protect those gates has also increased. It seemed like everything was balancing out. Seeing that Jinwoo was interested, President Go continued speaking, looking confused. Something feels different. This was just what he thought, so he made sure to say it was only his idea, but I'm not sure if it's true. Jinwoo agreed. It was definitely interesting to think about. Anyone could see that something was happening, but right now, neither Jinwoo nor President Go could do anything about it. It could have been explained on the phone. There had to be another reason. President Go, who was always busy, had made time to meet. What did you want to talk about? The president took some papers from a briefcase on the floor, as if he had been waiting for Jinwoo to ask. Hunter Sung, powerful countries like Japan, the United States, China, Russia, France, England, Germany, and places in the Middle East are all interested in meeting you. These papers are official invitations from those countries. You may have already been contacted by people representing them unofficially. I remember when people from the United States contacted me, but I won't talk about that now. The Hunters Association really doesn't have the power to stop these countries from reaching out to you. We are simply respecting your wish for privacy.
Jin will listen to President Go quietly. The choice is yours, but I think it will be hard for Korea to find someone else to take your place. If you decide to go, instead of saying anything, Jinwoo looked out the window.
He was thinking hard when the hospital where Gina was staying came into sight. We will help as much as we can. President Go looked worried as he put the papers away and asked for something. Will you please stay in Korea? The special team from the Knights Guild followed the line of ants to the leader's hiding place. Yoontae watched with amazement as the ants went into the hiding place. Shouldn't we stop them, sir? Do you think that's even possible? Jongsu didn't believe he could ask the creatures to stop their attack, so his team could collect parts or stones from the magic beasts. He sighed deeply. Let's just forget about those. He had changed his mind. They first went into this gate to show everyone that the Knights Guild was still powerful. It would have been great to finish a difficult dungeon without anyone getting hurt, and without help from Hunter Sung. People say what happens inside a dungeon stays a secret, don't they? Even if people knew the ants helped defeat the monster, they would still think the Knights Guild was responsible, not the creatures Jinwoo had called forth before he left. Besides, once the monster was gone, and the portal closed, there would be no way to prove anything, and Jinwoo didn't seem like someone who would tell others about it. Thinking this, Jongsu smiled. It was actually good luck. But then a disturbance broke out among the hunters at the back of the group. President Park, I think something is coming from behind us. Yes, I hear it too. What? Jongsu turned around, looking confused. He could also hear several footsteps coming closer quickly. Had the group sent to gather things already arrived? But the Skilled Knights Guild group usually didn't enter a dangerous place without being told to. Jongsu's thinking was stopped by seeing a large group of undead magical creatures that the ants hadn't eaten. Had these creatures caused the ants to eat so much? He thought about this for a moment, but he quickly forgot about it when he realized there were too many creatures for his team to fight. Jongsu shouted urgently, "Everyone, get inside the boss's room." Their only chance was the soldiers Jinwoo had left with them. The team rushed into the hidden place without looking to see what dangers might be inside. Once he made sure everyone was with him, Jongsu quickly ordered, "Block the doorway." Yerim created a protective wall, using her special ability. Boom! The enemy soldiers at the front of the group hit the invisible wall. Yerim felt beads of sweat on her forehead, as she glanced back at Jongsu. "Sir, it won't last long." I know, the team was getting ready for the fight they knew would happen when the wall fell. But looking at all the magical creatures on the other side, they weren't sure they could win. We need to hope our smaller helpers can defeat the leader first, and then we can handle this group. He quickly looked back at the tiny creatures fighting the leader, hoping it wouldn't be too difficult. Oh no, he couldn't help but watch in surprise. He knew exactly what dangerous creature the shadow ants were fighting. He had heard its name before. It was a powerful wizard with a pale face and torn clothes, an arch licks. This creature was the most feared undead monster, and ruled over all the other undead beings. What terrible luck! Jongsu's face became serious. He hoped his helpers would defeat the leader quickly and come help him. But their enemy was a very powerful undead wizard. It was more likely the other fighters would destroy the undead wizard first, and then help his group. Just then, Baru walked toward the powerful wizard. As he did this, the magical creature brought forth more than 12 dark knights to surround the ants. Baru showed his sharp teeth and stretched out his claws. The powerful wizard noticed dark smoke rising from Baru's body. If he had eyes, he would have been very surprised. The Shadow Army, the wizard asked, speaking the language of magical creatures. Baru pulled his claws back when he realized they could talk. The wizard looked at the ants behind Baru, and asked with a smile, "Why is the king's army attacking us?" Baru made a laughing sound and pointed to himself. "We were chosen by the king." He pointed at the archlichs. "You weren't." The archlichs spoke loudly, surprised and upset. "That's not true. I will ask the king myself." But before it could finish, Baru suddenly appeared right in front of its face. The archlichs jumped back, startled. Baru was a very powerful magical creature, made from the energy of a strong dungeon boss. Even though becoming a shadow soldier had made him a little weaker, Baru was still stronger than the archlich, who was the leader of a very difficult dungeon. Baru quickly grabbed the necklace around the archlich's neck and punched it hard in the chest, while also pushing the necklace forward. There was a strange sound. Ouch. Baru pulled his hand out of the archlich's back, and he was holding the necklace. Because he used to be a very powerful magical creature himself, Baru could find where his enemy's power came from, and in this case it was the necklace. The archlich shook his head. No. Baru didn't listen to the cries and held tightly to the necklace. Crack. "You talk too much for someone who is already dead." With those words, the powerful evil wizard disappeared. Jongsu's mouth dropped open. He needed time to understand what he had just seen. It only took one hit to defeat the wizard. One event especially made the wizard so well known. The Yellow Dragon Guild, a very strong group in China, had been completely destroyed by this wizard. But maybe their defeat couldn't have been avoided. A very powerful magic user could call forth many Death Knights, strong magical creatures that were difficult to defeat. It was dangerous to underestimate an enemy just because they didn't seem to have helpers. In the end, the Yellow Dragon Guild wasn't able to seal the magical doorway, and monsters escaped into the world. Shigan Liu, a skilled hunter from China, arrived just in time to stop a terrible event. Now people told the story as a warning to other hunters about how dangerous the archlich was, but even more surprising, that huge ant had killed an archlich with just one hit. It was an amazing sight. Yuntae felt the same way as Jongsu as he stood next to his commander, completely surprised. "Oh my goodness." Yuntae asked Jongsu, "Boss, is that an archlich?" "Yes, like the one from the Yellow Dragon Guild dungeon, and that creature just defeated it." Yuntae's face showed how amazed he was. The other hunters were shocked as they listened to Jongsu and Yuntae talk. "Archlich? Is that really an archlich? And it defeated it with one punch. Wow." Everyone in the Knights Guild was incredibly impressed by Jinwu's creature, and its ability to defeat the boss of a difficult dungeon so quickly. Everyone except the skilled healer Yurim was left to face a noisy group of undead creatures. The busy healer really wanted to know what was happening behind her. What is going on? What happened? She didn't have to wonder for long, because something else surprising happened right in front of her. The magical creatures that hadn't been alive for a long time were just about to break through the protective wall when they suddenly fell to the ground like puppets with their strings cut. They dropped with a thump. They didn't move. President Park. Yurim looked at him, surprised by what had just happened. Jongsu nodded to show her that everything was alright. Had the fallen creatures been brought back to life by the powerful wizard? It had looked very bad when the dark cloud of creatures came toward them, but now he could finally relax. Phew. Jongsu breathed out as happy smiles appeared on the faces of his team. Everyone was very happy that no one would be hurt leaving the dungeon. "Good job, leader. What did I do?" "They did all the work themselves." Yuntae looked to see what Jongsu was pointing at. The smaller creatures stared quietly at the hunters, almost as if they were asking, "What happens now?" They were kind of cute when they stood so still. Suddenly one of the creatures shouted at the ceiling for no clear reason, seeming just bored. "Scraw!" Yuntae's growing liking for the ants quickly disappeared. He turned to Jongsu. "So leader, is this the same as Hunter Sung finishing this dungeon alone?" "Pretty much." Jongsu agreed with what Yuntae said. All they had done was follow the ants into the most dangerous part of the dungeon. The ants belonged to Jinwu. so it was almost like Jinwoo had cleared the dungeon by himself. What amazing power! Jinwoo's skills were as incredible as everyone saw on the Genji Island broadcast. Jinwoo's helpers were much stronger than anyone expected, and the man who controlled them was amazing. So Hunter Sung can finish a difficult challenge just by sending those helpers in. Yoontae said it casually, but Jongsu felt a shiver down his spine. Just think about this, Jinwoo had brought over 200 helpers to Jeju Island, and that was only the ones people had seen on video. The real number of helpers he had was probably much higher than anyone knew. If Jinwoo stayed outside the dungeon and just sent in his helpers, he would need energy to call them and tell them what to do. He couldn't use all of them at the same time, but even using half or a quarter of them would be better than anything the best hunter groups could do. That was amazing. If Jinwoo's group had been a company, Jongsu would have used all his money to help it. Boss, I think we should really think about joining Hunter Sung's group. Sayu. Jongsu looked angrily at Yoontae, who didn't understand what was happening. The correct way to say it is MA. Knight's Guild joins with the new group started by Korea's top hunter. That would be a big news story, wouldn't it? Yoontae coughed a little. Are you really going to try to make that happen? Just think about it. If Hunter Sung is as skilled as everyone says, and our guild is really good at what we do, we would be more powerful than anyone else. Right? Even the main Hunters Guild. There had to be a good reason. Huntress, the second in command of the Hunters Guild, decided to leave and work with Hunter Sung. Yoontae seemed excited and nodded, but then he frowned and tapped his chin with his finger, thinking. But do you really think Hunter Sung needs our help? Boss Jongsu made a sound like he was shaking his head. Do you think Hunter Sung's group can break the rules? What do you mean? Even if his helpers can finish a dangerous place, he still needs a certain number of strong fighters on his team. Oh. Yoontae's face showed he understood everything now. You're right, sir. We could help Hunter Sung get enough people for his team, and he would help us too. It was a good plan for everyone. A way to make raids faster and more effective. If they couldn't get the top hunter to join their group, they could join his instead. Yoontae smiled, thinking about the hopeful future Jongsu had explained. That would be good. Leader, but would we be relying on Hunter Sung too much? What do you mean? Relying on him? Jongsu gently told Yoontae, then smiled. Let's just say we are getting involved early. If you say so, leader. As the two smiled, they felt the ground shake. Rumble. Oh, with the dungeon boss defeated, the gate was starting to close. Let's talk about this outside. Yes, leader. Jongsu called to the rest of the team, who were waiting patiently. Okay, team, let's go before the gate closes. You will get everything I need. Yes, that's correct. President Go said. There were 10 Korean hunters who were the strongest officially listed. The association had lost 3 of them, 2 were killed by dangerous creatures, and 1 went to work for the United States. President Go and the Hunters Association of Korea really needed to win. They couldn't afford to lose any more of their top hunters. If it were any other hunter with a high rank, they might not have tried so hard, but Hunter Sung was especially important to President Go. He couldn't risk losing him. His eyes showed how determined he was. As the leader of the Hunters Association, he had met many hunters, some very strong, but none excited him as much as Jinwoo did. He really wanted Jinwoo to stay in Korea, both for the country and for himself. We will give you anything we can. That one sentence showed how much President Go thought of Jinwoo and how strongly he wanted to keep him. Then Jinwoo thought for a moment before asking, "Can I go into a difficult gate by myself?" "Excuse me." The unexpected request surprised the president. "You want us to remove the rule that requires a certain number of hunters for a dangerous mission?" Jinwoo nodded. The rule about the minimum number of hunters was a standard safety measure. The rule was made to keep hunters from rushing into dangerous places and getting hurt, but Jinwoo was strong enough to fight even the most powerful monsters with his helpers. Did he really need this rule? President Go remembered what happened in the ant cave and nervously asked, "Are you saying you plan to go into every dungeon your guild is allowed to enter by yourself?" Yes. President Go didn't know what to say. Was that why Jinwoo started a guild? Did he want to explore the hardest dungeons all alone? There were many skilled hunters, but no one had ever thought of attacking in this way before. President Go felt a chill as he thought about the Jinwoo he was talking to, and the Jinwoo who had fought off the swarm of insects with his helpers in the insect nest. A hunter who could handle missions alone. Those words were very appealing to President Go, because he was worried that powerful groups were becoming too strong. His heart began to beat faster. He put a hand on his chest to feel better, and smiled sadly as he looked at the very healthy person sitting next to him. Am I asking too much? President Go shook his head. It won't be impossible. He knew it would be hard but not impossible, especially not for Gun He Go, the president of the Hunters Association, a top-level hunter, and a member of Congress. Since Jin Woo-sung was asking, President Go would do anything to help, even if it was difficult, because he wanted the young hunter to stay. I will handle it. Jin Woo smiled, happy to hear the president sound so sure. That was good. One problem was now solved. Thank you very much. President Go smiled back, pleased to help. I always say this, but I should be the one thanking you. The car stopped a good distance from the hospital doors. Until next time, Hunter Sung. Yes, sir. Jin Woo stepped out of the car, after a quick exchange of goodbyes. A large group of reporters had gathered in front of the hospital, after learning the injured people had been brought there. Considering all of this, Jinchul had stopped just before he reached the building entrance. People would have noticed if they saw Jin Woo getting out of the Hunters Association president's car, and that would have caused problems. Sometimes being famous is really annoying. Jin Woo shook his head, and used his ability to hide himself. In his office at Eugene Construction, Chairman Yu had fallen asleep at his large desk. He slowly sat up and looked at the sunlight coming in through the windows. He had been feeling sleepy just before he fell asleep. Secretary Kim, who worked closely with Chairman Yu, was sitting up straight on the couch near the desk. The chairman rubbed his eyes to wake up completely. I think I fell asleep. How long was I out? Secretary Kim looked at his watch and said, You were asleep for almost a full day, sir. Chairman Yu stopped rubbing his face. I was waiting to take you to the hospital if you didn't wake up after 24 hours, just like you asked. Was this happening because of that sickness again? Chairman Yu was very surprised. A strange illness was spreading. People with this illness would fall asleep at any time, and in any place, but it was hard for them to wake up. Slowly, the illness would cause their death. Secretary Kim stood up and walked closer to his boss. There are two important things we need to talk about. What are they? The chairman quickly looked calm, showing everyone why people called him Poker Face. The secretary picked up the newspaper on the desk, and carefully gave it to Chairman Yu. Chairman Yu quickly looked at the front page. The story was about a strange gate that opened at a school in Seoul, and sadly, many students had died. Oh no! The chairman read the terrible details with a frown. That's awful. The company should definitely give money to the school and the families who were hurt. Yes, sir. But his secretary turned the newspaper to another page with a big picture on it. I wanted to show you this. She pointed to a woman in the picture who looked to be about middle-aged. This woman, do you remember who she is? The picture showed the hospital where the students who survived had been taken. Secretary Kim pointed to a woman running into the building. A woman Chairman Yo knew. How? He always remembered faces, and he had seen this woman before. She was Hunter Jin Woo-sung's mom. Chairman Yu knew a lot about Jin Woo. He knew Jin Woo's mother was very sick and in the hospital needing help to breathe. She had a disease that made it hard for her body to heal. She seemed perfectly healthy, and was walking around without any trouble. Chairman Yu suddenly understood what Secretary Kim wanted to show him. His hands shook as he held the newspaper. Can you investigate this, please? Yes, sir, thank you. Secretary Kim nodded to show Chairman Yu was grateful. The chairman put the paper down and quietly went on. You said there were two important things to discuss. Yes, sir. What's the other one? Chairman Yu looked directly at him. Secretary Kim seemed a little worried. The man usually started with good news, and then shared the difficult news. He hesitated before saying, Miss Yu came back to Korea yesterday. Just then bang. The office door flew open, and a beautiful woman with a bright intelligent look in her eyes, walked in. Jin Hee-yu looked at her father with tears in her eyes. How long have you been feeling this way? A camera kept flashing, as a woman with shiny black hair made different poses. Good, very good. The photographer smiled, and didn't stop. Keshak. He looked up after one final flash. We are finished. You did a great job today. So-hyun Yo, Jin Hyo's older cousin, and a friend of the photographer, gave a polite bow, and laughed happily. It was nice working with you. You too, So-hyun. Because So-hyun was so friendly, her photo shoots were always enjoyable, and relaxed. Photographers who didn't like her at first always wanted to work with her after they got to know her.
You did a great job today.
Thank you. Seo-hyun said goodbye to the photographer and everyone on his team before going to talk to her stylist, who also helped manage her schedule. Did Jinhee call? The stylist asked, looking worried. They had already tried to reach her 4 times, but couldn't get through. Seo-hyun frowned when she heard this. Why was it so difficult to reach a girl who had just returned to Korea yesterday? Seo-hyun had learned the day before that her cousin Jinhee, who was studying in another country, was planning to visit. Who knew missing just one phone call could cause so many problems? She was fast asleep after taking pictures at night, when her cousin tried to call, and Jinhee couldn't be reached after that. Did something happen to her? No, that couldn't be true.